Okay, in this video we're going to talk about copying and moving files around, files and directories. It's pretty simple, but we first need a couple files to look at. So let's make a directory, mkdir, and I want to call this directory foo. And I might use the touch command to create a file inside of foo, and I'm going to call that file1.txt. And then b.txt. Right? So ls, we see we've got this foo directory, and we can look inside of foo and see that we have a and b. So foo might be some project that I'm working on, and I might need to make a backup of it. Okay, so one common thing you might do is to copy a directory and add an extension to it, like .bak or something like that, to let you know that it's a backup, right? And if you make, if you're working on this project for a long time, you might have several backups, right? So how can we do that? We can use the copy command, cp, and if you want more information on that, you can use man cp to give you the documentation and the synopsis, the manual pages, right? So to use the command, cp, specify any options, which are defined below, and then you have a source path and a destination path, and the path can be absolute or relative. Alright, so let's go back to CP, and what we want to do is we're copying our foo directory. Okay, now if I just try to copy foo by itself, and let's say I want to make foo.bak, right? I try to do this, I'm going to get an error. Okay, I don't have the -r specified. -r means recursive. In many Linux commands you have a -r, and that usually means recursive. What does recursive mean? It means go into a directory, and if there are any directories inside of that directory, go into those, and if there are directories inside of there, go into those. Okay, so you're recursively navigating the file system by going into a parent's child directories. Okay, so every directory has child directories, and go through all of them. Alright, so we have to add this option, right? And if we look back at the manual, right? Options go immediately after the command, right? And then we add source and destination. So we can look down here and find the -r option, right? And so we can use a capital R or a lowercase r. Either one is fine. Alright, so that's important. Some commands it matters. For example, changing your permissions, you have to use the capital R because the lowercase r means something else. Alright, so copy and -r, so that's the recursive switch, and we want to copy foo to a backup folder, foo.bak. ls-l. And we've got foo and foo.bak. Alright, and now let's say I'm working on foo again, and I add some more files. We've got foo slash c dot, maybe this is a Python file, okay, so I've added 3 files, ls foo. Okay, and we've got our original 2 text files and then some Python files. So that's good. I don't want to necessarily get rid of the old work that I had, the foo.bak, so I might just make another backup, right? I can say copy recursively. I want to copy foo, right? Remember, that's the one I'm making changes to. I always make changes to foo, and then the backups I never touch afterwards. Once they're backed up, I leave those alone unless I'm actively trying to restore my project or something like that. Okay, so foo is the source directory, and then I want to make that foo.bak 1 or 2 or something like that. Right? ls-l. Okay, and so we can just start making lists of these backups, right? So it might be nice to put all of these in one folder. I can make a directory, and this is my foo project. Okay, so I have foo project here, and what I want to do is I want to take foo and all of my backups, and I'm going to move all of them into this directory. Okay, how do I do that? And I want to move this time. I'm not just copying them over, right? Copying would be a backup type of situation. So I want to move this, so I can use the move command, right? MV. And similar to the move command, I can look the move command up on in the manual pages. And so the synopsis is how you use it. MV, specify any options. So those are the hyphen switches or any of these defined below. And then you have a source and a destination. Right? So let's move. And I want to move my foo project. Let's change the name of foo project. Let's change it to project foo. Okay, so I can move this directory foo project to rename it. So there is no rename command in Linux. I just use the move command. And MV, you specify the path of the thing that you want to move. So that's foo project. Right? And where do you want to move it? I want to move it to project foo. ls-l. Okay, now the reason I did this, I changed the wording around, is because I'm going to try to move all of these at once. Okay, so in order to do that, I might do something like move in any of the directories that start foo, and they can end in anything else, right? So foo and then a .bak.bak1, right? All of those we're going to move into project foo. Okay, ls-l. And we see all of the foo items are gone. Let's look in project foo. So let's ls into project foo. And there's all of our backups. Okay. Another thing that might be useful when you make a backup is to maybe put a date on it, right? So we can use the date command, and we can use the plus sign and specify a specific type of output, right? And we can, let's see, something like that. No, it's not question mark. Let's look at the manual for the date command. There's one special character that does the date very easily, but off the top of my head I can't remember what it is. Here we go. So here are the formatting strings you can use. You can use the full weekday name, all that fun stuff. So we want the date that's just kind of year, month. Oh, here it is. %D. So this is the same as doing something like this. We actually don't want the slashes. We probably want hyphens. So full date. So this is what we want. %F. Okay, so we'll try both of those. %D is kind of the standard American date, right? And %F is what you'll see more often in computers, because the year is first. And the reason that's important is if you're looking at a bunch of files, then all of the ones from the same year will be grouped together, right? If you're ordering them by name, right? If you order them by day of the week, then or the date or the month, for example, then you might have all of the Januaries of 10 years grouped together, which isn't very useful. Generally, you want to look at things ordered by in chronological order, right? So for that sort of thing, generally speaking, in computer science, we use this style date: 4 year digits, 2 month digits, and 2 date digits. All right, so let's try that. We have the date command, and we do plus sign and add quotation marks, and inside the quotation marks we use that special format string. So that's going to be %D. And basically what the date command does is it grabs this format string, and anytime it sees one of those special % and then a letter, characters, it puts something else in there, depending on what that character is supposed to represent. So date, that's the American style date. If I did 2 of those, I think it would replace it twice. And I could add hyphens in between if I wanted to, right? So the important thing to note is the %d is the item that gets swapped out, and each one of those has a specific meaning to the date command. Okay, but anything else that you type in there remains. See, the hyphens still remain. All right, so go back to the one that we probably want, which is capital F. Right, there we go. So date and then the format string %f. This is going to be useful for making backup files, or backup directories, backup files, anything like that. So let's cd into our foo directory, project foo, right? And then we have foo. Let's make a couple more files. We're going to add some JavaScript files in there for some reason. f.js. We're going to put that in foo. And then g.js. We'll look in ls-l. We'll look in our project foo. And now we have all of these extra files, these JavaScript files mixed in with Python, mixed in with plain text. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to make a backup again. So how can I use the date command? I basically want the output of the date command to be used as part of my file name. Okay, because before I just did a copy command. We have to use -r for recursive, right? And we specify what we want to copy. That's the foo directory. And where do we want to copy it to? Well, we want to copy it to foo dot, and I might want to put the date here, right? And then after the date, put .bak, right? That might be a useful way of doing this. So right in between here, I need to put the date. So one of the things I can do, and this is on Z shell. I'm using Z shell to do this. So use the backticks. The backticks are the keyboard key to the left of your numeric 1. And basically the way the backticks work in the shell is the shell executes the command you type in backticks, and the result of that command gets replaced and placed here in the bigger command, and then the bigger command is executed. Okay, so we're going to kind of execute two commands at once. Date, and then I'm going to do my format string, and that's %F. So this is in backticks. So the shell, when it scans this entire command that I've typed in, the first thing it does is it sees these backticks. So it has to execute that first before it can execute the larger command. So it goes inside the backticks. What do we have here? Well, we have the date command with %F format string. So it's going to execute that and return the date like this. And so that is going to be placed in here. Okay, so this is pretty fancy stuff, but this is a nice way to make backups. Right, ls-l, and here we have foo, and then we have the date of the backup. And you can include the time and different things like that. Right, so this would only be good if you make a backup like once a day, but if you're making multiple backups in one day and you want to keep them all, that wouldn't be good because they'd stomp over each other, right? But it's nice because they can all be organized, and you don't have to, look back and see what the last number was, because you might have, .bak 15, 16, 147, who knows, right? So you don't have to know the previous one. If you just use the date, they'll automatically be ordered correctly. All right, so that's a little bit of, creating files, organizing files. The important bit is, remember, with directories, you have to use the -r. If it's a copy command. If it's a move command, you don't. And there's a couple other gotchas too. Let's cd into foo, and I can copy files, the same way. Instead of specifying the directory, I would specify the file name. So we're on, H. We'll call this one hello. So I'm going to echo hello into hello.txt. ls, and sure enough, we've got our file. And if I look inside that file using cat's going to display the contents of the file. There's hello, right? So I want to copy this file, and I might want to copy this to my home directory. So with the copy command, I'm going to copy hello.txt. Now this is a relative path. It's relative to my current working directory, right? Which print working directory. that's a lot. This would be the absolute path if I added hello.txt to the end of this. That's too much to type in, right? That's why we're using a relative path. Okay, so I want to copy hello.txt, and then I want to copy it to my home directory, just like that. Okay. Now if I specify a name here, it will use that name. Okay. So we could say hello2.txt. So this is this file does not exist, right? So it's going to create it, and if it did exist, it would overwrite it. Okay. So we're copying hello.txt, and we're copying it to our home directory with hello2. So let's look in our home directory, ls-l tilde. So that's going to list out the contents of our home directory. And we have hello2. Alright, let's try, we want to copy just hello the normal way. And let's call it hello just .txt. That's fine. And we can ls-l our home directory again, right? Tilde, that's our home directory. And we see hello and then hello2.txt. And we can look in both of those. Do they have the text hello inside them? So cat hello.txt, yes, and then hello2.txt. Alright. So another important thing here, there is one kind of inconsistent behavior when you use the copy command. So if I specify a directory I want something to be in, let's see into my home directory. Let's say I make a directory called mkdir hello. Alright. That directory is called hello. I want to copy something into it. Right, so if I try to copy, let's see, cp, let's see, we're in foo project foo, and then hello.txt. I want to put that in this hello directory, tilde hello. Okay. Right. So I left off the name of the file, right? And I just specified /hello. So it's going to use the original name of the file, hello.txt, and automatically put it in there. That's all well and fine. We can look in hello.txt. That's fine. Let's copy this hello directory to goodbye. So we use the copy command -r for recursive, and we're going to copy hello to goodbye. Right? Goodbye does not exist. Right? We looked in here. It does not exist in here. So if I do this one time, we see ls and we see goodbye. Let's look inside goodbye. Right? There's our text file. That's fine. Now if we ran the command again, right, we're going to copy hello again, say we made some changes into hello, into goodbye. Right? Let's see what happens. We ls into goodbye. Now there's a problem. This isn't what we wanted to do. Right? Goodbye, we were trying to copy the contents of a hello and overwrite everything that was in goodbye. But since goodbye already existed as a directory, it thinks that I just left the name off of the thing that I was copying, right? So it went ahead and made another one called hello inside of my folder goodbye. So that's the tricky one. Whenever you're creating a new directory using copy, then you don't have to, it would copy this over. If this was the first time I ran this command, right, it would copy the contents of hello over, and it would be named goodbye, and there would just be my one text file in there. Okay, but since I did it a second time, it's the exact same command. You might think that it would just do the same thing and copy everything over from hello into goodbye, but the shell sees that goodbye already exists, so it thinks I'm just leaving off the name, right? You know how you can leave off the name and it uses the existing name? Well, that can get you sometimes because it thinks I'm leaving off the name and it's using the existing name and placing it inside goodbye. So that's the biggest gotcha on copy. So be careful when you're copying directories. Sometimes you can make an assumption that copying a directory into one location will always like overwrite the stuff, you know, in that folder, and that's not the case. So to be sure, what you want to do is you want to remove. So we would remove recursively, force. We want to remove goodbye, and then we'll copy it, right? ls goodbye, and that's what we want. So that's what you really want to do anytime you're copying a directory. You almost always want to, you could back it up, but at any point it can't exist when you copy it, otherwise you might get some issues like this, right? So you want to remove it and then copy. Okay, so that's the copy command and moving command, and you can move files around. So don't forget the -R means recursive, and you only need that on the copy command.